Have you noticed that creating content for your business feels more draining than energizing? I would say even seasoned entrepreneurs, coaches, course creators, wedding pros, doesn't matter what industry you're in, we all hit a wall when it comes to content creation, especially when we're the one creating the majority of the content. And while I say that, I'm sure you're going to assume that I'm going to tell you to outsource, but I also know that outsourcing your marketing is not really that easy when you're a personal brand. In fact, I feel like as a business owner, it is especially like things like Instagram or showing up on stories or like being a person, like my podcast. Like there's just so many things that I would hold on to. And yeah, you can get help with some of it, but it will never be completely hands off. So it's kind of the last thing that I would kind of choose to outsource. So anyway, that being said, it can feel like a lot when you're running a business and trying to do all the things and you're still trying to put out a ton of content. Maybe you have a weekly podcast, a weekly YouTube video, a blog, Pinterest content, Instagram videos, stories, posts, TikToks, LinkedIn. Like there's demand for you to be everywhere. So if you feel like you might be headed toward content burnout, I want to talk about it because there are 5 pretty clear signs. As somebody who has been through it and also has seen clients go through it, if we haven't met yet, I'm Kara. My business is the Kara Report. We do blog writing and Pinterest management for online business owners, mostly service providers. And that's what I want to talk about today because I've been behind the scenes of 6, multi-6, sometimes even 7-figure businesses, and content burnout does not pick favorites, okay? Everyone has equal opportunity to be affected. So here are the 5 signs, and I'm going to give you some advice on what to do about it. So sign number 1 is just when content starts to feel like a chore. So instead of feeling excited to connect with people, you sort of start dreading doing some of the things that you like whether you usually like recording face-to-cam videos, or maybe you're like, I don't like doing posts, but I do love showing up on stories. Like whatever the parts that you like, they're starting to feel like a chore too. I feel like that's a warning sign when everything starts to feel like a have to instead of I get to. And I don't just mean that in like a semantics kind of way, right? It's like if we all as business owners need to remind ourselves sometimes, it's like, oh, we chose this and we get to do this and how freaking excited. But I also know that it's not that easy. So I'm not trying to say like, remember to be grateful. So anyway, the point is when it starts to feel like a chore, your creativity can quickly dry up and your audience feels that lack of energy. That is the first sign I feel like that you're headed toward content burnout, which I might be getting ahead of myself here, but I also want to say when your audience feels that lack of energy, then your content starts performing worse and then you get even like you start dreading it even more. So it's a really vicious cycle that a lot of business owners fall into, which is why I think it's so important to catch it early. Sign number 2 is you're repeating yourself, but you're not excited anymore. We all have to repeat ourselves more than we want to, right? As business owners, I feel like it is our job to say the same thing different ways 85 million times so that people hear it when they need to, in the way that they need to. Like, that's kind of our job. And I also think that so many of us are super passionate about the work that we do, which I think is really important, right? We care about the work that we do. We have been in business long enough to have these like one-liners or things that we're known for. If you're starting to catch yourself thinking like, haven't I already said this 100 times? I feel you. And that is a sign that you're headed towards content burnout. Again, not a fleeting thought, but a nagging thought. Like, I'm so tired of saying this. I'm always saying this. I think especially as business owners that whether we like it or not, we have to be creating content. That is just kind of the name of the game of running an online business in 2025. And I think that we have to find ways to make it fun. And when it feels like we're like, oh my God, if I have to say this one more time, just shoot me. Yeah, that becomes a slippery slope. So I feel like what you will start to see in this sign is you know that your audience needs your repetition, but you feel uninspired delivering it. And your content, again, leads to bland content and lack of engagement. Sign number 3 that you're headed toward content burnout is that you're trapped in short-term content cycles. This is the biggest one. You're always chasing the next Instagram post or story with no time for evergreen posts, and maybe you're even running out of time to batch. Your marketing feels like a treadmill and you have to run faster or fall off. Listen, pause this video, rewind, hear me say this a million times. If your traffic dries off the moment you stop posting, content burnout is inevitable. And listen, I'm a little bit biased, right? Because I specialize in search-driven marketing. Search-driven marketing means like it will get found as long as the search is relevant. These platforms typically take time to pop off. Like as someone who does blogging and Pinterest, I'm always telling clients like expect 6 to 12 months of consistent posting don't worry, I'm going to do it for you. But I'm just always setting that realistic expectation because I know how important it is when you're going to be looking for an ROI when you're outsourcing your marketing, right? Here's the thing though. When you stop blogging or stop doing Pinterest, traffic doesn't automatically fall. The content that you've created truly compounds and it stays relevant as long as it's relevant. So I think that's something that's really important. I do feel like content burnout is inevitable when you're trapped in short-term content cycles. And while batching is great in theory, I don't know that many people, and I work with a lot of business owners. Like we're more of a volume business, to be honest. And I work with a lot of business owners. And I don't know that many that can batch social content very well for a long period of time. Like maybe you can batch a month when you have a busy month ahead, or maybe you like batch like 2 posts a week and then you still show up live in stories. When you batch too much, I think you become so disconnected with your content and your audience that it just never really performs that well. Sorry. I feel guilty saying that because I know batching is the solution that we all want. But while I do think we have to balance our energy and things like that, I also think we have to be realistic that we are creating content for a purpose to connect with people. And so how they're going to respond to it is kind of important. Okay, side number 4 that you are headed straight toward content burnout is that the metrics don't motivate you anymore. So the dopamine hit of likes, comments, shares no longer feels rewarding. Even when a post does well, you don't really care. You've realized that vanity metrics don't seem to match the effort you're putting in no matter what. And listen, there is some reality to that as a business owner. Like we know that reach isn't what it used to be, but you can't even like look at the data and like be excited about it when things are going well. There's a chance that your head is ready for content burnout. And listen, I know that frustration sets in when results don't align with the energy invested. Sign number 5, this is the last one. You feel guilty when you're not posting. So when you do take time off, and I'm not talking about like 3 months off, I'm talking about like a little bit of time off, you start to panic and you feel a little bit like, if I don't post today, will my business collapse? Am I setting a bad example for the people that follow? I'm always telling people to be consistent. Why can't I be consistent? I feel like guilt becomes like a constant weight and it will really truly rob you of the joy in your work if you let it. And this to me is a major red flag that you're headed to content marketing burnout. Let me say this very loud. Marketing is designed to support your business, not control your life. So let's talk about why this even matters. I know you're like, of course, I know why it matters. Who wants to feel burnt out? But I feel like burnout isn't just about content because it impacts your creativity, your confidence, your business growth, and your personal life because stress will bleed into your evenings and weekends, no matter what we do. So one more thing that I want to talk about is how do we shift away? We're like, okay, Hera, I hear you. I am like headed straight to content burnout. I am friggin' burned out. Whatever you're feeling right now, I just have a few ways to kind of shift away from it and write the shit as you would. And one, I would just say like a reframe consistency. I promise you, nobody will notice if you don't show up every single day. Think about how often you can be consistent while keeping your content quality up. And it has to be, I mean, it depends on the platform, but I am not somebody who's going to tell you like, you can just work 2 hours a week because I don't believe that. So I would be lying to you, to be honest. I don't think you can just post on Instagram 1 day a week. I'm so sorry. I wish you could. I wish I could for my sake. But I think we have to like look at how often we can be consistent. The other thing that I want you to consider is evergreen content. I know. It feels like pulling the slingshot back, and that can be scary to do because you don't 100% know if it's going to fly forward. However, a blog post, a YouTube video, a Pinterest strategy, a podcast, like something like that that's going to keep working for you after you create it, like pull back and start investing in that now. I also want to tie into this. Yes, I know these pieces take longer to create than like an Instagram caption. However, I think that there's so many ways you can repurpose it. So like for a blog post, for example, when I'm writing a blog for my client, this is like as easy as it could possibly be for them because I come up with the topic based on the keyword, then I come up with the outline, they add their little flair to it in the notes, and then I write the blog post. They can then take that blog post and they can like throw it up on stories like, hey, I wrote a blog about this, you want to check it out? They can turn that blog content like, hey, can you pull out the best one-liners from this blog post and turn it into threads post? Hey, can you turn the main points of this into a Instagram carousel? Like there's just like, if there's one hill that I will die on, it's that when you start marketing your business based on like one piece of pillar content every week or every even every 2 weeks, your life and marketing is just so much easier. Obviously, you guys know I'm without blogging because I said at the beginning, that's what I do for a living. It's so fun. I love it so much. And one of the reasons I love it, I wasn't planning on talking about this in this video, but let me just indulge you. I was a baby entrepreneur. I started a wedding business called Love at First Travel that is still runs today. I'm just not in it anymore. This actually was a COVID pivot that changed my life, and I just love working with business owners so much. But when I was a baby business owner, I was doing all of the things. Like content burnout, this was my life. And honestly, Instagram is the biggest friggin' time suck. I spent so much time on it, and then blogging and Pinterest I kind of did like when I had extra time. And as an Enneagram 3, I mean, I was putting in the work on those platforms, but it was like minor compared to Instagram. And then when I hit content burnout, which was partly due to the pandemic, if I'm being super honest with you, like my business life came to a crashing halt. I had some time to look at the data and I was like, wait, what? All of my customers are coming from Pinterest and blogging, but I've been spending the least amount of time there and the most amount of time on Instagram. Like, how does that work? And then I was like, oh, wow, is this magic? Like, is this magic? So now I'm just like so passionate about helping people set up the same systems where you're like, yes, you are investing. Yes, it takes a minute to pop off. But like one, also, side tangent, before I let you go, pictures and blogging are also super easy to outsource because they don't require your face or voice. Like it's a chef's kiss business. I'm just going to say that. What I want to say to you, if you're like, hey, Kara, I totally recognize myself in these 5 warning signs for content burnout. I feel like I'm from in there. One, take a look at how consistent you're being. Do you need to be that consistent? Could you dial it back? Is there room to repurpose some of this stuff? Even like go back to your old posts. Can you use some of those to help you? Can you get help? Do you have content somewhere that you can repurpose? But then also, please start investing in a long-term strategy that like long-form piece of content that you can get help with because it makes a ton of difference. And then make sure that long-form content can actually get found places. So when I think about blogging, I think about the fact that it can get found on Google, it can get found on ChatGPT, it can send people like all the things. So anyway, which of these 5 signs resonated with you the most? I'm gonna say them again. 1, your content feels like a chore. 2, you're repeating yourself. You're just not excited anymore. 3, you're trapped in short-term content cycles. 4, the metrics do not motivate you anymore. And 5, you feel guilty when you're not posting. Which of those do you resonate most with? Let me know in the comments. And I release videos every Thursday, so definitely make sure you're subscribed, turn on notifications, like this video, do all the things. Love you so much, and I will talk to you next week.